Today's forecast calls for a cold, sunny day in New York City with a high near 26 and a low near 10. It's Monday, January 20th, and this is your Boroughs in Brief. New York State implemented legislation that ended the use of cash bail for most misdemeanors and nonviolent felonies about 5 years ago, but a new report says that judges have been dragging their feet. The Zimroth Center at NYU School of Law authored a new report alongside the legal advocacy group Scrutinize, detailing how judges set exorbitantly higher costs for what should be affordable bail options. The Setting Bail to Fail report gives an in-depth history and data analysis of how New York judges are allegedly undermining the original intention of bail reform by incentivizing low-income New Yorkers to pay non-refundable fees on commercial bail options. More and more judges set partially secured bonds at amounts higher than commercial bonds, sending New Yorkers back into the commercial bond industry and defeating one of the purposes of the 2019 reforms. According to Scrutinize, quote, "The numbers tell a clear story. New York judges are setting bail to fail," unquote. Beginning in 2020, judges had new requirements for the types of bail offered to defendants under the reforms. All judges were required to give defendants at least 3 payment options to post bail. At least one of those options had to be a partially secured surety bond, or PSSB, or an unsecured surety bond, USB. A PSSB requires a deposit from a friend or family member. If the defendant does not appear in court, whoever paid the fee must foot the rest of the bond. A USB is a written promise to pay the full bond if the defendant does not appear in court, either themselves or through a third party. Out of the options judges can offer, USBs are the only ones where a defendant can be released without anyone paying an upfront fee or deposit. Using pretrial data published by the New York Office of Court Administration and the Department of Criminal Justice Services, the report found that judges 99.9% of the time complied with legal requirements to offer defendants at least one of the affordable bail options. The problems come, however, with how those bonds were offered. Overwhelmingly, the most common form of bail options offered was either cash, PSSBs, or commercial bonds, and they were offered in one package to defendants nearly 84% of the time. Judges were much less interested in offering the theoretically cost-free USBs to defendants by a lot. In fact, less than 0.1% of all cases, only 497 in total. Problems came not just from the lack of options. The 10% deposits required with PSSBs are so expensive that it deters defendants from choosing it, even if that money is refunded later, the report said. The limited options and financially unattractive PSSBs meant that defendants and their families are not reaping the full intended benefits of the 2019 reform, the report said. The report recommends a series of improvements, including a public dashboard tracking judicial compliance with bail reform, requiring explanation when PSSB is set as less affordable than other options, holding judicial training on the legislative intent behind bail reform, and other efforts. The Office of Court Administration, which would be responsible for implementing many of the recommendations made in the report, said that they will carefully review the report. That's all for now. My name is Imran Sheikh. Today's story relied on reporting from the Queen's Eagle. Make sure to support and subscribe to your local New York news outlets like the one you heard today.
The next stop.
Spoken Layer.